Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at Gareth Brookes' adaptation of Isaac Walton's The Compleat Angler. This is newly out from Self-Made Hero. Really excited about this book. I think Gareth is like one of the few artists that I've found during the course of making this channel that really changed my mind about comics. His work just blew my mind, and I've become obsessive about what he's doing. I had the good luck to interview him early on in the channel, so always excited for a new Gareth Brookes book. I'll admit right out the gate that this one confuses me as a choice, just because Gareth obviously has a real love for the primary text here, the Compleat Angler by Isaac Walton. Reading this book, I just don't get the love. Like, I get his love for it, but I don't think it's a book that I would fall in love with, so I don't get the impulse to turn it into a graphic novel. What it is, that like part of it's kind of poetic, and I'll read that off. And for you that have heard many grave serious men pity anglers, and anglers is an old word for fly fishing, I think. For you that pity anglers, men that are taken to be grave, because nature hath made them of a sorrow complexion, money-getting men, men that spend all their time first in getting and next in anxious care to keep it, men that are condemned to be rich and then always busy and disconnected. For these poor rich men, we anglers pity them perfectly. So in this first scene of the book, I get, oh yeah, this is about appreciating nature and all that. And it is, but then a lot of it's just kind of an instruction manual for how to catch certain fish and what to do with them and how to cook them. And that's all really interesting historical information. But like I said, I don't think it's a book that I would pick up and read. So in the introduction, when Gareth is talking about, oh, I return to this book over and over, and it's one of the best-selling books of all time, I guess. And I just don't kind of get that. I get the poetry of the pro-nature stuff, but the inclusion of like the how-to manual is, I don't know, a little weird for me. So in that sense, I struggle a little bit more with this work than most of Gareth's other work. But his actual Gareth's work in the book is as great as ever. He's turning to some of his standard material play that he does. That's one of the things I like most about Gareth's work. So here he's working on the very thin rice paper that allows for a lot of bleeding, and you can see that there's some folding going on. I know in some of Gareth's other work, the bleed to the other side is part of how the art is made and part of the meaning of the work. I'm not seeing that on here, but I do see a lot of like really interesting effects going on, like here where the bleed, maybe even this is done on the other side and then bled through. I'm not sure that's happened in other works of his. Really creates the look of like the fish being underwater. So there's a lot of really fun material playing here. Now, different than Gareth's other work, I think pretty much everything else I've read of his, the material choice that he uses conceptually relates to the story somehow. And here I'm not getting that either. I think these are effects and stuff, but I don't think the rice paper itself as a medium is conceptually related to catching fish in the same way that like embroidery is in some of his other work or something like that. Then the kind of second style that he's working in, the second method that he's using is woodblock cuts, which is something else that he's included in some of his other work. And again, I don't know that the woodblock cut is conceptually related. I'm not sure though, because a woodblock cut could have been at the time this book was the original book, The Compleat Angler, was released. This could have been a pretty standard illustration style. So this approach makes more sense to me in terms of material. I think what the rice paper is allowing Gareth is allowing him to work with an aqueous medium, but it's not as tightly related as some of his other stuff. So this is the two styles that you flip back and forth. This woodblock style is more for the instructional material, or also like some stories that he's telling. The original author, Isaac Walton, has also gone out and collected stories. So this is like a story about a frog jumping on a fish's head and grabbing its eye. There's some really funny stuff within that material, because you're getting, I forget when he said this was written. This is a really old book that he's translating, 1644, I think. So he's getting some information wrong too, like some of the things that Isaac Walton shares in the book is wrong, and Gareth is keeping all of that. So you get some really funny like ideas about what people used to think about certain animals. Here he's talking about whether an otter be a beast or a fish is not within my power to resolve. Most agree that her tail is a fish, and if her body, then I may say, be a fish too, then maybe a fish could walk on land. So that's kind of a fun thing going through the book, is kind of picking up these little stray bits of where people got things wrong before we understood the world, but more scientifically. So that's kind of what you get throughout the book. You get that, you get some instruction, you get some of this poem that relates to nature, and I'm assuming that's the structure of the original book as well. So like I said, that part of it, I don't know. It's a weird mix for me, and I don't think I would keep the Isaac Walton's Compleat Angler as a dear book in my heart that I revisited. So I had a little bit of a struggle with that. But what Gareth has done with it is really, really interesting. You can see, he's an amazing designer and an amazing artist. And of course, like, he's always pushing the material play in comics. So that made this really interesting. So that's pretty much the content of what the book is. I think it's a really beautiful book. Like I said, the content of it, or the choice of the primary text itself, is a little strange to me, just because I wouldn't have resonated with that primary text, but obviously a bunch of people have. So really interesting book. A lot of like little fun details in here, like with the otter. So definitely still worth picking up. And for me, just exciting to have another new work from Gareth. And as always, I look forward to whatever he does next.
Whole new world. 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 For you and me.